What if I told you that the battle that has haunted you for years, that fear, that burden, that pain that seems never to end? What if I told you that Allah has already ended it for you, that you will never see it again, even if your heart continues to imagine it? Stay with me, because what you are about to discover could transform the way you see all the struggles in your life. Once upon a time, there was a person, a weary soul, walking in the shadow of her own battles, her heart weighed down by invisible burdens no one could see. Every morning, she awoke with the same nagging fear, as if the night had only piled a cloud of sadness over her head. Every breath felt like an effort, every thought a painful repetition of memories that refused to leave. She carried a weight on her shoulders that even those closest to her couldn't comprehend. She thought this burden would last forever, that this struggle was her destiny, that she would never know respite. And yet, there was that moment, that unique moment, almost imperceptible to the eyes of the world, but monumental to her soul. A moment when she stopped, not by choice, not by any external force, but from a profound weariness, from that fatigue that transcends the body and touches the mind directly. She sat down, closed her eyes, and, for the first time in years, she didn't search for a solution. She didn't try to understand, to fix, to control. She simply was there. And then she felt that breath, a light breath, almost imperceptible, yet powerful enough to make something tremble deep within her. It was as if heaven, with infinite gentleness, had laid its hand upon her heart. As if a silent voice, older than time, were telling her, "What you fear is already over." Imagine that feeling, a peace that doesn't come from temporary relief, but from absolute certainty. A peace that demands no conditions, that doesn't depend on a future event, but that simply settles in, because the Almighty has decreed it. She felt that the battle she had believed to be endless, the one that had haunted her dreams, her prayers, her innermost thoughts, was no more. It was behind her, erased by an invisible wisdom that the human mind cannot fully comprehend. But what was most surprising was that her mind still couldn't accept this truth. It continued to search for clues, for proof, as if it doubted the reality of this liberation. And therein lies the beauty of guidance. Even when the heart is touched, the human mind sometimes takes time to follow. Yet, with each breath, the certainty solidified. With each sigh, she felt that what she had believed insurmountable had been closed by the One who holds all power and all mercy. She began to observe the small things, the details the world considers insignificant, but the soul recognizes instantly. A silence that no longer frightens, a spontaneous smile that arises for no reason, courage born amidst uncertainty. Every gesture, every thought, every breath became a reminder of this silent truth. Some battles are not for you to fight, but for you to observe how Allah, in His wisdom, brings them to a close. She then understood something even deeper, that everything she had endured, all those trials, all those nights when prayer seemed to echo off the ceiling, had not been in vain. Every tear shed had a purpose, every disappointment a reason, every fear a lesson. But the battle itself, the one that had seemed endless, was no longer there. She realized that it wasn't she who had ended this fight, but that the Almighty, in His infinite justice and mercy, had already finished it, long before she knew it. And in this revelation, A strange but powerful feeling took hold. Silent gratitude. A gratitude that doesn't manifest itself in words, but in the inner recognition that what you believed to be an endless war was in reality only a transitional test, a passage, a bridge to a tranquility you had never imagined possible. It is this recognition that transforms despair into serenity, that transforms fear into confidence, that transforms weariness into renewed hope. She began to perceive signs all around her, subtle, discreet signs, but clear to those who seek with sincerity. A breath in the wind that seems to whisper a promise. A kind glance from a stranger that becomes a silent reminder of the Creator's goodness. A door that opens where she had seen only walls and obstacles. Every little detail became an echo of this great truth. You no longer have to fight against what has already been resolved. Feel it. This weight that has been crushing you for so long, not just in your body, not just in your shoulders, but in the silence of your soul, where no one can penetrate. The nights you cried silently, your pillow absorbing your tears without a word. The prayers you whispered in despair. That question repeated 1,000 times. Why me? Why these trials? Why this pain? And yet, despite all this weight, despite all this inner silence, there is an invisible hand reaching out to you. A hand you cannot see with your eyes, but your heart can feel. A hand that says, surrender. Stop fighting against what has already been settled. Imagine for a moment. Imagine that this burden you have been carrying for years, this fear that has seeped into your every move, into your every thought, disappears. Not gently, not gradually, but like a sudden breath of mercy that sweeps through your heart. Everything you believed to be permanent vanishes. Your soul understands, even before your mind, that this battle is over. That the burden that seemed to have always been a part of you is, in reality, just a chapter closed by the one who holds all power. And then, your heart trembles. Because it knows that letting go of this fear means letting go of something it has long considered familiar. This fear that defined you, that protected you, that made you believe you were alive, despite the pain. Now, it has no reason to exist. And it's frightening. But it's beautiful. Because it's precisely the mercy that comes to you, precisely the guidance you were waiting for, even if you didn't know it. Feel this moment. This unique breath where your soul glimpses what your mind had never believed possible. Total liberation. It's as if an invisible chain that bound you to the past suddenly snaps, allowing your heart to breathe for the first time in years. And you realize something, that this battle you thought would last forever, Allah has already finished it for you, that the pain, the sleepless nights, and the tears were never meant to last longer than necessary. And yet, despite this revelation, your mind resists. It wants to understand. It wants visible proof. It wants to control what happens next. But it is precisely in this silence, in this absence of apparent certainty, that true mercy is revealed. For guidance doesn't always arrive with visible flashes of light. Sometimes, it slips in gently, almost imperceptibly, to the very depths of your heart where words cannot reach, where faith becomes an intimate and silent conviction. Feel this tension, the past still trying to hold you back, the doubt whispering in the corners of your mind, and that inner light saying, it's all settled. You can move on. It's a strange paradox, but this is precisely where the soul is tested, in accepting what transcends human understanding. The soul that submits to this truth, even without fully grasping it, is the one that will find the peace many seek their entire lives. Now, close your eyes and listen to the silence. Really listen. Listen to how it resonates in your heart, how it speaks without words, how it invites you to let go of fear. Each beat of your heart becomes a silent confirmation that the battle is over, that mercy has already found you, that the ordeal no longer has power over you. And you begin to understand something profound. What you have been through was never meant to destroy you, but to prepare you to receive the peace you never dared to imagine. And that's where the magic happens. You feel a calm you've never known, a lightness that brushes against your soul like a divine breath. You realize you don't need to understand everything. You don't need to see all the pieces of the puzzle. You don't need to fight the past. Liberation is a silent gift, an invisible promise, a clear sign for those who want to see it. And even in this calm, you know it's only the beginning. That this peace, this lightness, this certainty that the battle is over, is only the first breath of an even deeper path. And that if you continue to listen, to feel, to open your heart, you will discover even more powerful truths, spiritual keys that few souls have the chance to touch. Picture a massive wall in front of you. Not a small obstacle you can get around, but a wall so colossal it seems to reach the sky. For years, you've been hitting this wall. Every failure, every seemingly futile effort is a blow to this invisible but heavy concrete. Every morning you wake up and the wall is still there. Every night you fall asleep with the same crushing feeling that this battle will never end. You've often asked yourself, why me? Why this ordeal? Why does this wall continue to separate me from the peace I seek? And yet, you keep hitting it, because you've never learned to give up, because you believe that fighting is the only way, because your heart, exhausted but courageous, refuses to acknowledge that there might be another plan, a grander, wiser plan that you cannot yet see. Now, imagine something incredible. Suddenly, the wall disappears. Not a sound, not a ripple, no spectacular miracle for the world to applaud. Just emptiness. And in that emptiness, your breath catches. Your heart trembles, but not with fear, with gratitude, with surprise, with liberation. That wall you thought insurmountable was never there to punish you. It was there to show you the depth of your patience, to test the strength of your heart so you could learn something you could only learn through experience. Every blow you struck, every tear you shed, every silent cry in the night, it was all part of the process. But the wall, the real wall, was never eternal. It was closed by the one who knows the unseen. It was removed by the one whose wisdom surpasses all your human mind can comprehend. Look around you now in your imagination. The invisible fragments of that wall fall gently, like leaves carried away by the wind. And you stand there, motionless, gazing into the void. This emptiness isn't unsettling. This emptiness isn't frightening. It's a sacred space, a space where mercy and peace can finally flow freely. It's there that you realize something incredible. All the battles you thought you'd have to fight forever have already been won. Everything you thought you'd have to endure is behind you. And you never had to face them as much as you thought you would. And then you look at your hands. These hands that have pounded against the wall, that have bled from effort and perseverance, that have been weary from the struggle. And you realize they no longer need to fight. They can finally be open to receive peace, open to grasp blessings, open to embrace what the Almighty has already prepared for you. Every gesture you make now is filled with a new lightness, a freedom you've never known. The wall was always more in your mind than in reality. It was an illusion, but one you took seriously. And that's precisely how the human heart works. We see obstacles that seem insurmountable, battles that seem endless, pains that seem eternal. But often, these walls exist for a reason. To guide you toward patience, to push you toward a deeper connection with the one who holds all things, so that you may learn to recognize the truth, even when it is invisible. Now imagine that this emptiness before you is not just a space freed from the wall, but a space filled with possibilities. Every breath becomes lighter, every thought clearer, every prayer deeper. You begin to feel that peace was never far away. It was there, behind the wall, waiting for you to stop striking, to stop struggling needlessly, to turn to the one who can end all battles with a simple decree. And in this emptiness, you begin to perceive the subtle signs that the wall was never there to hurt you, but to prepare you. Perhaps a breath in the wind, an unexpected smile, a silence that speaks louder than any words. Every detail, every moment becomes a reminder that some trials are temporary, that some battles are already over, and that true strength is not measured by the struggle you wage, but by the trust you place in the one who knows the unseen. So you stand there, in the midst of this emptiness, still a little incredulous. And you ask yourself, how could I have fought for so long against something that was already over? And it is precisely this moment, this breath, this silent realization, that prepares your heart for something deeper. Because the wall was only a prelude, and what you are about to discover next could forever change the way you walk through every battle of your life. You've been asking yourself these questions for months, maybe years, or even decades. How can I be sure? How can I know it's really over? How can I know that this weight I've carried for so long, this fear that accompanies me every moment, this invisible yet so real battle, is truly behind me? What if I told you that the answer isn't in your mind? That you're not the one who has to understand all the details, all the mechanisms of what happened, or the reasons for every pain or failure you've experienced? That you're not the one who has to judge or control when and how a battle ends? You've tried so hard to find proof. You've searched for visible signs, clear confirmations, tangible answers to your prayers. And yet, there's a subtle point that many souls forget. Guidance doesn't always work in a dramatic way. Sometimes it slips in silently, imperceptibly, like a breath in the night, a breeze that brushes against your heart without you even realizing it. And that breath is enough for the battle to already be over, even if your mind hasn't yet grasped it. Feel it for a moment. All those nights you wondered if you could ever overcome this pain. All those whispered prayers hoping for a change. All those moments you clenched your fists and said, I can't go on. And now, take a breath and let a thought creep in. What if Allah has already closed this battle? You might answer, but I still feel it. I still see it in my life. It's still present in my mind. And that's exactly how many feel. The heart knows the weight has lessened, but the mind hasn't yet assimilated this reality. And that's where faith comes in. Faith isn't simply believing when everything is visible and clear. Faith is sensing in the silence, in the unseen, that what was meant to destroy you has already been sealed by the one who holds all power and mercy. So how can you know? How can you be certain? Perhaps there is never complete certainty for the human mind. Perhaps what you see and feel is still filtered by the past, by fear, by the habit of endless struggle. But the certainty of the heart, that is different. The certainty of the heart reveals itself in an inner calm that nothing can shake, in lighter breathing, in a sudden serenity that arises for no apparent reason. It is in this calm that you recognize the battle is over, not because you see it, but because your soul feels it. And if you're thinking, but why is it so silent? Why don't I have a dazzling sign, a dramatic event to convince me? It's because the greatest changes in our lives, the deepest liberations, often come in silence. Allah's mercy doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't knock on the door of your mind with lightning and thunder. It gently opens your heart and allows you to feel that the burden you've always carried is gone. Even if you continue to perceive the shadow of this struggle, the truth remains. It has been sealed. And here's a key you must remember. You don't need to understand everything. You don't need to know why this struggle was imposed upon you, how long it was supposed to last, or exactly how it was resolved in the unseen realm. All you need to do is accept the possibility that Allah, in His infinite wisdom, has already closed this chapter. That weight you thought would last forever has been lifted, even if your mind still perceives it. So ask yourself this question: what would I do if I truly believed this battle is over? Would you breathe more freely? Would you look at your past with a little more lightness? Would you walk through life with a little more confidence, knowing that what you thought impossible has already been resolved? This is exactly what you are invited to experience. Because some truths cannot be explained with words. They must be lived. They must be felt. They must be anchored in the heart of the soul, where human reasoning fails, but where divine light penetrates deeply. And if you continue to ask yourself, how do I know if I can truly let go? Listen to this. It is not you who gets to decide when you can let go. The decision has already been made by the one who knows all that is seen and unseen. Your role is simply to lift your eyes, open your heart, and feel this silent liberation that is already within your reach. So, what do you do now? Not tomorrow, not next week, but now. Imagine for a moment that you stop carrying this burden that feels so familiar, yet has weighed you down for years. Imagine that you let go of the fear, the anger, the pain, the guilt, all those invisible chains that prevent you from breathing fully. Not because they have magically disappeared, not because the world has changed, but because Allah, in His infinite mercy, has already decided for you that the battle you thought you would have to fight forever is already over. You have walked for so long with this fear that seemed to define you, that seemed to dictate your every step, your every decision, your every thought. And now, that same fear begins to dissolve, not because you are stronger or braver, but because the Almighty has withdrawn its power. Liberation is there, ready to be grasped. But grasping it doesn't come by force. It comes through the opening of your heart, through trust in the one who holds all things. Each breath you take now can become a silent testimony. A testimony that what you believed impossible has already been accomplished. That the victory you so ardently sought in the struggles of your life has already been sealed in the unseen realm, even if your human mind still doubts. Your breath becomes a reminder of this truth. You no longer need to fight against what you cannot change. You no longer need to fear what has already been settled by the one who holds all things. And with every step you take, you realize something incredible. You walk with the confidence of a knowing heart. You walk with the tranquility of a soul that understands that some battles were never meant for you to fight, but were to prepare you to receive peace. Your body moves, but it is your mind and soul that truly move forward, in a freedom you have never known before. It is a freedom that doesn't depend on the end of your visible trials, but on the silent certainty that the Creator has already brought to a close what needed to be closed. Feel this transformation. Your perspective on the world shifts. Worries that once seemed insurmountable subside, not because they have vanished, but because you now understand that they never had the final say. Your heart warms with gratitude, the kind of gratitude that arises when the soul recognizes the signs of unseen guidance. Even in the smallest things, a breath of wind that seems to soothe your thoughts, an unexpected smile from a loved one, a silence that speaks louder than any words, you perceive the mercy that surrounds you. Every detail becomes a reminder that the battle is over and that peace has always been waiting for you. Now let me ask you a direct question. Are you ready to walk toward this peace without looking back? Because this isn't just encouragement, it's a call. A call to let go of everything that holds you back, everything that shackles you to the past, everything that makes you believe you must keep fighting when the battle is over. Letting go doesn't mean ignoring reality or becoming passive. Letting go means placing your trust in the one who knows the unseen, and walking with the certainty that everything that needed to be resolved has been. And as you move forward, each step becomes a silent prayer. Not a prayer to change the situation, but a prayer of gratitude for the guidance received. Each step becomes a testament that you have understood what few souls understand, that true courage lies not in constant struggle, but in the ability to recognize when Allah has already sealed the victory. Each breath becomes a reminder that what you sought to achieve through effort is already in His hands. Feel this lightness. You no longer feel the weight of the past on your shoulders. You no longer feel the fear of the next battle because you know it has already been over for you, even before you knew it. This inner peace, this tranquility you thought unattainable, is now within reach. All you have to do is walk, breathe, feel. All you have to do is welcome the silent guidance and move forward. And imagine for a moment that this peace permeates every area of your life. Your mind, your heart, your relationships, your decisions, all begin to align with this truth. Some battles are not meant for you to fight. Some trials are not meant to break you, but to prepare you to receive what you have always sought. Freedom, serenity, confidence. All of this awaits you beyond the struggle you thought would never end. So, what do you choose now? To remain in the shadow of this burden, wondering how long it will take to heal, or to walk confidently toward the peace that the Almighty has already prepared for you? Because every step you take toward this certainty is not just a physical step. It is a spiritual step, an inner step, a step toward a version of yourself that has always existed but never dared to break free. And each step brings you closer to an even greater revelation, an even deeper truth. For this is only the beginning. The true transformation, the one that touches the soul and changes the way you walk in all your battles, begins now. Now, reflect for a moment and ask yourself, will you continue to carry this burden needlessly? Or are you ready to walk toward the peace that Allah has already prepared for you? If this video has opened your eyes to the truth that some battles are already over, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this light with someone who needs to hear this message. Your peace begins when you accept what the divine has already settled. Don't let this moment pass you by.